AAA gaming, where every blockbuster costs a fortune, and still launches with doors needing 3 patches. Apparently, complete games became old-fashioned, so publishers now build ecosystems, roadmaps, stores, seasons and investor presentations, with combat somewhere inside. Microsoft has provided the confession nobody expected, because Xbox is unhealthy and loses 64 cents from every investment dollar during a typical year. Bethesda workers protested cuts, while the people who approved years of expansion remain comfortably employed, probably searching PowerPoint for the accountability button. Gamers did not kill AAA gaming, and they certainly did not stop caring. Executives inflated budgets, teams, timelines, prices and expectations, until selling several million copies could still qualify as disappointment. Better still, the industry that called players impatient, entitled and toxic, now wants rescue through subscriptions, pre-orders, patience and sympathy. Today we are tracing the bill, from the boardroom to the studio floor, because the important question is not why Xbox lost money. Instead, the mystery is why workers and customers are expected to pay for decisions they never made. First, gaming itself is not dying. Millions still play, strong releases still sell, and smaller teams keep proving that people buy games when those games look focused, complete, and enjoyable. What is collapsing is the belief that every project must dominate every platform, retain users for 10 years, sell cosmetics, and impress investors who consider ordinary profit insulting. Once, publishers released a game and hoped you liked it. Now, they release a monetization strategy wearing armor and promise the fun will arrive during Season 3. Gradually, small profitable games became giant productions became permanent services, and permanent services became financial obligations that could never stop growing. Following that logic, Xbox collected studios like a drunken billionaire collecting restaurants, because one sandwich shop had a queue. Game Pass would create endless value, acquisitions would guarantee endless content, and scale would solve every problem, except making people care. Unfortunately, customers remained human and kept choosing actual games instead of corporate strategy diagrams. Hundreds of Bethesda and ZeniMax positions then faced elimination, and workers had a different name for this historic reset. Before this financial autopsy begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and satisfy our digital landlord before it buries us beneath 12 reaction faces and a sponsored chair shaped like a rejected spaceship. Support the channel, because Microsoft can lose 64 cents from every dollar, and call it restructuring while I lose 1 viewer, and start pricing cheaper whiskey. Right, back to the patient, because Xbox's own memo contains 3 admissions that explain the entire AAA sickness. According to Xbox, roughly 3,200 roles will disappear across its gaming divisions through fiscal year 27, including about 1,600 immediate eliminations. Additionally, 4 studios are leaving Xbox management, while reductions spread across Activision, Bethesda, Blizzard, King, Mojang, and Xbox Game Studios. Officially, this is the largest restructure in Xbox history. Ordinarily, resetting something means pressing a button, rather than removing thousands of employees, because the previous operating system swallowed the budget. More importantly, Xbox says its margins are 3 to 10 times lower than comparable platform and publishing businesses. That admission appeared on Xbox's own website, beside language about discipline, clarity, and a bigger future, because corporate optimism always becomes loudest when the building starts leaning. During a typical year, Xbox says it lost 64 cents from every dollar invested. Imagine feeding $1 into a vending machine, receiving 36 cents and a calendar invitation, then being told the machine needs loyalty during a difficult transition. Some work reportedly passed through as many as 14 management layers, while platform teams grew by 40%, even as player activity declined. 14 layers are not management, they are geological sediment, formed around one exhausted developer trying to change the pause menu font. Naturally, leadership now promises fewer layers, clearer responsibility, lower spending and faster decisions. Corporate simplicity always arrives immediately after complexity has strangled everyone below it. Workers who boot the games are paying for the people who built the structure. At Rockville and other Bethesda locations, union members organized protests after hundreds of ZeniMax-related jobs were marked for elimination. Maryland records listed 166 affected positions at ZeniMax Media and 213 at ZeniMax Online Studios, with cuts scheduled for September. Several workers described abrupt dismissals, damaged careers, lost access, and uncertainty surrounding projects they had spent years building. Nobody decent should laugh at that. Developers did not approve the acquisition spree. Artists did not create 14 management layers. Testers did not decide that a subscription could replace a coherent release strategy. Programmers simply kept old engines alive through knowledge that probably qualifies as forbidden magic. Leadership made the business choices, but the consequences traveled downward with impressive efficiency. Here is where corporate incompetence becomes emotional blackmail. Management makes the bet, workers lose their jobs, and customers hear that refusing another pre-order means abandoning developers. Gamers are customers, not emergency shareholders wearing Master Chief helmets. Buying a weak release does not protect art. Renewing Game Pass from guilt does not repair management. Pre-ordering a deluxe edition because layoffs happened only teaches executives that emotional pressure works better than quality control. Defenders will reasonably argue that an unhealthy business must cut costs. Fair enough, because no company can destroy money forever while pretending arithmetic is harassment. However, layoffs may have become financially necessary, while the years of executive choices that made them necessary were not. Why are the people who approved the expansion presented as surgeons while employees beneath them are treated like the tumor? Accountability appears to stop exactly where executive compensation begins. Across the wider industry, the same illness keeps appearing under different logos. GDC's 2026 survey found that 2/3 of AAA respondents worked at companies that had conducted layoffs, while more than 1/4 of all respondents had been laid off within 2 years. Meanwhile, more than 200 million Americans reportedly play games every week. Clearly, the customers did not vanish. Publishers simply built businesses that require every release to become a global event, a permanent service, a merchandise platform, and a recurring payment plan. Xbox is not the entire AAA crisis. It is simply the company reckless enough to publish the diagnosis. Previously, a solid action game could sell several million copies and enjoy a respectable life. Currently, ordinary success arrives at the earnings call, wearing a paper bag over its head. Budgets rise because graphics need more detail, teams expand because production becomes complicated, and timelines stretch because every project must serve additional platforms, stores, seasons, and monetization systems. Then, one title misses an internal target and hundreds of workers disappear. Management calls that efficiency. Normal people call it setting the kitchen on fire and dismissing the dishwasher. Suddenly, customers are told they must save the people, trapped inside the same model that overcharged, delayed, patched, monetized, and lectured them. Nobody sends players an invoice marked Save AAA Gaming. The demand appears through deluxe editions, permanent subscriptions, unfinished launches sold on future promises, and the suggestion that refusing them harms developers. Saving them apparently means buying the expensive edition, keeping subscriptions active, accepting broken releases, waiting through roadmaps, defending publishers online, and treating criticism like betrayal. Bethesda offers a useful example, because its recent record is mixed rather than conveniently terrible. Skyrim has sold more than 65 million copies, while Bethesda reported Starfield passing 17 million players and nearly 1 billion hours played. Those figures are substantial, not imaginary victories, invented by forum warriors. Nevertheless, scale does not automatically create affection. Many players enjoyed Starfield's ships, quests, and familiar systems, while others found its universe fragmented, repetitive, and strangely distant. Fallout 76 improved through years of work, although launching the roof after selling the house remains a curious customer service strategy. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle reviewed strongly, proving talented teams inside the system can still produce focused, confident games. One good release deserves genuine credit. Conversely, one successful release cannot erase a broken business model. Just as one healthy passenger cannot prove the bus has brakes, AAA gaming is not bursting because every expensive game is bad. Specifically, it is bursting because every expensive game is expected to become enormous. Campaigns acquire unnecessary progression systems. Menus resemble shopping centers. Stories pause for seasonal content. Characters receive costumes designed less for their world than for the store page. Even failure becomes recurring content because a roadmap promises redemption several quarters later. Players have grown tired of financing the apology tour. Technically, Xbox still owns everything required to recover. Creatively, its studios contain experienced developers, valuable franchises, strong technology, and enough money to survive mistakes that would kill smaller publishers. Occasionally, projects such as Indiana Jones cut through the fog and remind everyone why these teams were worth buying. Perhaps independence will help studios Microsoft finally admitted it was not best suited to manage Maybe fewer committees will let somebody choose a release date before civilization ends. So how does a company with this much money, talent, technology, and intellectual property still end up calling itself unhealthy? Because purchasing creative power is not the same as knowing how to lead it. Trust returns when games launch complete, workers receive protection, leaders accept responsibility,